Okay, Flagstar Football Nation, imagine trying to make a video that had every single rule in Flagstar. Nearly impossible, but here we go. We play 6-on-6 flag football. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the quarterback right here. The rule for Flagstar is you need to have one person on the line of scrimmage on each side of the ball. You can have more than one person on line of scrimmage, but at least one person on line of scrimmage on each side of the center, right? We see we're playing 6-on-6 here. We're starting at the 20-yard line. The older groups we'll see in a second, but we're starting at the 20-yard line, and you have 4 tries to get to midfield, 4 tries to get to the next 20, and then it's first and goal from there. So we're 6-on-6 in the younger division. Okay, the other thing we're seeing in this clip is we have one man in motion. You are allowed to have one person in motion as long as they're not going forward at the snap of the ball. So on this play, we still have one person on line of scrimmage on this side of the ball. We have 2 people on line of scrimmage on this side of the ball. Our person's going in motion. Great play. The only time that we're not 6-on-6 in this game is if we're in the kindergarten to 3rd grade leagues. So in the kindergarten to 3rd grade leagues, we have a coach quarterback. So there's still 6 people on offense, 6 people on defense, plus the coach. So it's still 6-on-6 players, but we're adding the coach quarterback. Okay, for the older kids, we start on what is functionally the 5-yard line. So it's halfway between the goal and the 20. They're starting on the 5-yard line, and they have 4 downs to get to midfield, which is the 40-yard line down here. So for the older kids, there's only 1 achievable first down. For the younger kids, there are 2 achievable first downs. The other thing I'd say here about snap count is for the younger kids, there's a 5-second snap count. 1, 2, 3, 4, whistle. For the older kids who are playing in this 1 first down format, it's 1, 2, 3, whistle. Okay, the next most important rule here is that only the quarterback, who is the person who receives the snap, can throw a forward pass. So if someone came in motion and caught this snap directly, that person would become the quarterback, and only that person can throw a forward pass. The quarterback cannot run. The only time the quarterback can run is if they're blitzed. So we can see here in this clip that the quarterback's being blitzed on set go. The defense can line up wherever they want, and on set go, they can directly rush the passer. You get 1 blitz per set of downs. So let's say this is 2nd down, right? They blitz the quarterback. He's allowed to run, and he gets the first down. So if he has his flag pulled here, now it's a new set of downs, first and goal, and the defense regains their ability to blitz. If the quarterback ends up scoring here, or if any player scores, the offense then gets to choose between a 1 or 2 point conversion. 1 point conversion would be 1 play from 5 yards out. A 2 point conversion is 1 play from 10 yards out. And again, the offense can elect to go for 1 or 2. All right, a special note about blitzing in the 2nd, 3rd grade division. You can blitz in the 2nd, 3rd grade division. The adult quarterback obviously will not be running for positive yardage, right? So the rule for adult quarterbacks is you can scramble one way and then cut back the other, but you may not obviously run for positive yardage in the 2nd, 3rd grade division. You can see here, it's just one hand touch from the quarterback. He touches Aaron here, he's down. The only thing here is we will not have blitzes in the K to 1st grade division. So 2nd, 3rd grade division, you can blitz the adults. It's one hand touch. There are no blitzes in the kindergarten to 1st grade division. Another procedural thing here is the ball must start on the ground before it snaps. So you see the center here is sideways. He's not snapping it between his legs. Either way works, right? But the ball starts on the ground to snap the ball. And then remember that everyone on offense is eligible. So the center, like you see here, can get a pop pass. All right, here's an example of a bad snap here, right? The center kind of pump fakes it, right? That would be a legal procedure. That's going to be a 3-yard penalty. Unless it's the first couple weeks of this season, it's really younger kids, and we can work with them and teach them here, right? But the ball needs to be a direct snap from the ground to the quarterback. Okay, now this is not a bad snap. This is actually the quarterback dropping the ball. Let's say the quarterback gets the ball and he drops it just like that. That's going to be called a fumble, and we're marking it dead at the spot of the fumble. Please remember, there are interceptions, and you can return interceptions, but fumbles are dead in this league. We don't want people diving for the ball. So in the event that someone fumbles the ball, the quarterback gets control and then drops the ball, we're just going to blow that play dead, next down from the spot of the fumble. Okay, just while we're using the miraculous tool of film, like here's an example of not a fumble. This is just a drop snap. If this happened in a game, we would just call this dead, blow it dead, next down at the original line of scrimmage. Okay, two more little quick procedural things, and then we can get into the penalties and finish this video. But if the offense runs a play action, right? A play action is like a fake handoff. If an offense runs a play action, and let's say a defender here comes up to guard against that run, they are allowed to cross the line of scrimmage without it counting as a blitz. But once they see the quarterback has pulled the ball back out, right, and is not giving the handoff, the defense is allowed to then go back across the line of scrimmage. So a defender coming up to potentially defend against a play action or running play is not charged with a blitz if they then return back across the line of scrimmage when they see it's not a run. The other little procedural tricky thing here are flea flickers. We are allowed to run flea flickers in this league. So the quarterback here gave the ball to someone in motion. He came, ran forward, and then lateraled the ball back to the quarterback. The quarterback now, once he gets the ball back in control, running a flea flicker, it's 3, 2, 1, whistle, and he has to get the ball out before the whistle, right? The only time he doesn't have to get the ball out is if the defender who has come up to guard against the running play, right? If he comes up, he is allowed to continue to pursue the quarterback, and it does not count as his blitz, right? So if the offense hands the ball off, then basically all is fair game, and the defender is allowed to keep chasing the quarterback. In this event, if the defender pursues the quarterback then is eligible to run and no longer has that 3-second count. But if they just run a regular flea flicker, they hand the ball off, he gives it back to the quarterback, and then if this defender just goes back across the line of scrimmage and just does not pursue the quarterback, it's 3, 2, 1, and he has that chance to get the ball off. Okay, if you're a younger player watching this video, feel free to just ignore this next clip because it's going to confuse you. And Aaron, who's sitting right next to me, drew this play up because he is a master statistician. This play is a play for positive yardage, so freeze. This running back has crossed the line of scrimmage. Once the ball carrier crosses the line of scrimmage, he can lateral to anyone, right? But once there's been a play for positive yardage, this quarterback can no longer throw the ball. So they're running this trick play here, right? Where the running back gets the ball, he crosses the line of scrimmage, and he flips it back to the quarterback, right? So this is technically no longer the quarterback. You cannot have a forward pass after there have been positive yardages on the play. This quarterback is going to fake like he's going to throw a flea flicker, but in reality, that was just a lateral, and he's going to run the ball. So I think just the big takeaway here would be once you've run the ball for positive yardage, anyone can get a lateral. Anyone is eligible to get a lateral and then can then run for positive yardage. I think the other thing I'd say in this clip is it looks like this quarterback's flag is off. Or maybe his shirt is untucked and it's over the flag a little bit, like you can see here, right? That's not a penalty, but referees, I would say this, the defender has a right to the flag. So if a shirt is ever over the flag or partially over a flag, or you thought for any reason that this defender might have pulled this flag if the shirt hadn't been over top of it, you should just blow the play dead where you think the defender might have made the play. We can't give offensive positive yardage because their shirt was covering the flag. Okay, and another awesome rule we have in this league is we have onside kick attempts. So an onside kick attempt is going to be after you score, if you are trailing in the second half only, if your team is losing, not tied, but losing, you can attempt 2 onside kick attempts. You're going to get the ball at the 5-yard line, right? So that's halfway in between the goal and the 20, and it's functionally a 4th and 15. You have one play to get to midfield. If you score on the play, you score on the play. If you get to midfield on the play, it's a first down. If you get stopped 1 yard in, then the defense gets the ball with 1 yard. You can see we run a flea flicker here. He gets the ball back. 3, 2, 1. He gets it off. Completed pass. The man is down. If your knee or elbow is touching the ground, you're down. So this player is down across the 40-yard line. So now the offense retains the ball, and it's now 1st and goal because it's the older division. Okay, and now it's just a good time to note that inside of 2 minutes, if you are down, your flag is pulled, or you're down, or you fumble, or something happens inbounds, right? The clock is rolling. If for an incomplete pass, or if you run out of bounds, then the clock is stopped in the last 2 minutes, right? But in this situation, it's a live 4th and 15, and we're under 2 minutes here. So this player should hurry up, get the ball up, get in formation, because the clock is rolling. We should also note, just kind of here, as good as anywhere, is each team has one timeout in each half. You cannot carry your timeouts into the second half. So a team has one timeout in each half. A timeout also stops the clock. Okay, we're going to start our list of penalties with probably our most common penalty in the league, which is flag guarding, right? The thing to remember here is, first of all, flag guarding doesn't make you a bad person. The defender has the right to the flag. So whether the offender intentionally or unintentionally is in the way, his hand is in the way of the defense pulling that flag, right? It's going to be called flag guarding. It's not a condemnation of your character or your family, right? But if your hand is in the way, I don't think this offensive person even means to do it, but his hand is down there and you can see it's in the way of the defender trying to pull his flag. This is going to be a flag guarding penalty, right? Remember, just like in basketball, you get 5 fouls in a game, right? So it doesn't make you a terrible person to get this penalty. The other thing I just want to say while we're watching this clip is let's just watch this coach for a second, right? The rule is on offense, the coach, no problem, can be behind the play and call the plays. I have no problem with this. The defensive coach just has to, in good conscience, stay out of the way of the play. So this coach here is 20 yards off the play, right? He's getting his defense set on set go. He's getting off the field. He's hustling off the field. He has absolutely no impact on this play, whatever. It's not like a black and white. The defensive coach has to be off the sideline, right? But the defensive coach has to be out of the way of the play. Okay, and this is a list of penalties, and this is a super rare thing, but just while we're talking about coaches on the field, right? The coach has to be out of the way of this play. You can say this defensive coach right now is cluelessly in the middle of this play, right? So like I want my defensive coaches out back behind the play and on set go getting off the field, right? But if something like this happened in my game and I was a referee, I would call it a sideline warning on this coach. I'd call a sideline warning on this coach, right? And then I would let the offense choose between the outcome of the play, which ended up being a touchdown, or just replaying the down. Okay, another penalty we see a lot in this league is illegal contact, right? We have an illegal contact minor and an illegal contact major penalty. Minor penalty, like say the defense has illegal contact, right? It's going to be 3 yards from the point of contact, right? The end of the play plus replay down. A major penalty is going to be 5 yards and an automatic first down. There's one thing I want to say before we start showing a couple illegal contact clips. Even when we're watching these films, two things comes out. The first is it's really difficult to see if it's a major or a minor penalty. A lot of times things are happening outside the game, like a parent screams or someone gasps or a coach gets angry about something, right? And it makes you think the situation's terrible, right? But one thing I'd say in watching this film is, one, it's very difficult sometimes to see what's a major, what's a minor, and frankly, who the penalty is on. And the second thing is you see when you're watching film that all these things, like even hard collisions, they look like they're malicious, but it's really just like someone's out of control and needs to practice. What they need is to practice being in control. What they don't need is to be demonized for being a terrible person, okay? So in this penalty, what we're about to see, and I keep leading up to it, is illegal contact. Boom. We never want to have collisions this hard in this league, right? So I would call this probably, just on the severity of the impact, I would call this a major illegal contact against this defender. Again, this defender isn't meaning to do anything bad, but if you watch him, right, he's just out of control. He doesn't break down. The offense really doesn't see that he's there, and he turns around. And even though the defender gets hit pretty hard here and falls over, it's still, unfortunately, a penalty against him because he just came in way too fast, way too out of control, and didn't give this ball carrier even a chance to move. Here's another incident of illegal contact, right? And again, this is a hard one because you see there's contact and we're throwing the flag here, right? But again, if you watch this play, right, both the defender and the offensive person are going for this ball, right? So freeze, this receiver is going for this ball and this defender is going for this ball. But again, the defender is out of control here and he falls over and he like hits into the receiver's legs. And so we're going to call this illegal contact after the catch, right? That would probably be an illegal contact minor. It's going to be plus 3 yards, or if he's this close to the goal line, half the distance to the goal, and then either replay down, or because the receiver achieved a first down, it's going to be a first down. But again, another thing I'd like to just underline here is it's very hard to distinguish between major contact and minor contact. And again, look at this player here. He's just doing his best. He's chasing after the ball. He's a little bit out of control, and he runs into the offensive person. This doesn't make this kid a bad person. It doesn't mean he meant to do this. This is probably just an illegal contact minor penalty. First down, half the distance to the goal. Okay, and we can also remember that there are any number of scenarios where illegal contact can be against the offense, right? So, for example, if this player right here, this player comes out and he moves and tries to block this defender, that's going to be illegal contact. We're a non-blocking league. We don't even have a penalty that's illegal blocking because there is no legal block, right? The offensive person, once the ball is handed off, just has to stay still or be out of the way of the defender, right? But the contact you're going to see here is on this offensive ball carrier. He just blows up this defender, right? He just blows up this defender, right? So the defender has a right to his space as well. So if the defender here on the outside is coming up and freeze, right? This defender is established position. He's in one place. He's breaking down to make a football play, and he just gets blown up by this offensive player. So I would either say that this is a major contact penalty, 5 yards, loss of down because it's on offense, or it's borderline unsportsmanlike behavior, right? Like, that's a serious collision here. And I know, like, even when I was just watching this with Aaron, if you watch the offensive ball carrier, again, I don't think he has bad intent here. He's running, he's waving his arms, a little bit out of control, right? And this is more a problem of he didn't have his feet under him and he couldn't plant, right? But this is major contact, so I'd probably call this illegal contact major, 5 yards, loss of down. Okay, here's another play that's close call in terms of illegal contact here, right? But you're going to see at the end of this play, this defender comes down and he actually hits the ball of this wide receiver, right? So one thing that we cannot do is this defensive back, right? Even after the receiver touches the ball, sometimes in football, they rake the arms, right? And they kind of like scrape at the arms to knock that ball out. They are not allowed to do that, right? That would be illegal contact. But if you think that this defender hits that football there and knocks that football out, then that's a good football play. Okay, this is the last play I want to play for legal contact, but I would just call this play a teaching lesson. I'd call this play a teaching lesson, right? It's a little quick thing on illegal contact, but it's also just about, please, everyone, parents, players, coaches, everyone, please just keep your cool, because we're going to have contact on some plays. Like, look, we have 3 kids on the ground here, right? I'm not even convinced, and Coach Aaron, who's sitting with me, we've watched this play 20 times now, and I'm not even convinced that this is a penalty or who it would be a penalty on, right? So, like, the offensive player catches the ball, right? So it's really contact. First of all, this kid falls down, no one touches him, right? So it's like, just because a player is on the ground does not mean that there was a penalty, right? But it's like, who is this penalty on, right? Is it on the defense because he was running through the runner? Is it on the offense because he bowled into a defensive player that was in position, right? Like, I'll play this play just over and over and again, right? And it's like, who is this penalty on? It's really hard to tell. And so that's why in a lot of these judgment calls, like, maybe you could say here that the defender has established position. If you look at the offensive person and you play the defensive person, you play that play, it's hard to say that that's a penalty on him, right? This defensive person's coming in, he breaks down. He's really not moving forward very much there, right? So it's hard to call that penalty on him. But now if you look at the offensive player, he's just catching the ball and turning upfield. And does he see that? It's like, that could almost be a non-call for us, right? And there's some times that it's just going to be a non-call. But the problem is when everyone starts screaming and screaming and screaming and everyone's out for blood, right? Then we like cloud our ability to think reasonably about things. I guess, Aaron, who would you call this penalty on?
I don't even know. I don't know.
It's really hard. It's really hard. And that's just a reminder in these rules videos. I've gotten to watch this play 25 times now, and it's like, who's this penalty on? So in that situation, we're going to defer to the man wearing the stripes and whose job it is to make a decision. And he's going to make the decision, and he's going to make this call, and we're going to go with that in the game. Okay, and so the time we probably see most illegal contact is when it comes to blocking, right? So let's just watch this offensive player here who somehow at the end of this play still believes he's innocent, right? But there's been a clear handoff of the ball, right? There's been a clear handoff of the ball. This receiver now needs to stand in position, right? But he doesn't. He goes back and he's kind of hunting and trying to get in the way of defensive people, right? This is clearly illegal contact here, right? That's clearly illegal contact. That's going to be a legal contact minor, 3-yard penalty, loss of down. The only thing that I just say here is, like, let's just watch this coach. He knows it's illegal contact, but somehow this offensive player is incredulous, and he cannot believe that he would be called for this penalty. The last thing I'd say with regards to illegal contact and blocking is remember that the offensive people have a right to run their route, right? So you're going to see on this play that we have 2 people blitzing, right? We have 2 people blitzing. But let's just go back to the beginning of the play, right? If this person's blitzing, right? If this defender is blitzing, my center, he can run an out route here in front of him, right? He can't intentionally try to block him, right? But the offense has the right to run their routes. So even for example here, if this person's coming in motion, right, and he's running out like this, the defender who's blitzing needs to get around him, over him, or under him, right? But the offensive has the right to run their routes, and the defender needs to work around the offensive player. Okay, after flag guarding, the second most common penalty that we'll see in Flagstar is obstructing the ball carrier, right? We used to call this defensive holding. We're not calling it defensive holding. This is called obstructing the ball carrier. Obstructing the ball carrier is when the defense interrupts the rhythm, speed, or displacement of the ball carrier, right? So you can see here, the defender breaks down, he reaches around the player's hips, he's slowing him down, he's like affecting the speed, rhythm of the offensive person's movement, right? That's going to be a 3-yard penalty, replay down. Okay, here are just 2 quick examples of illegal formation. The offense is bouncing around a little bit. You can just see this is an ugly play here, right? We have an offensive player who's lined up 2 yards in front of the ball. This player is bouncing around to snap the ball. We're just blowing that dead. Illegal formation, 3-yard penalty, replay down. Another example of illegal formation here, right? The ball is here. The line of scrimmage is here. Both our receivers are off the line. So if this is a kindergarten or first grade game, really in any age grade game, this official is the person that the receiver should be checking with, right? So they should check with this official. He's going to say, line is good, or get up on the ball, get up on the ball. But if you snap the ball, especially in these older age divisions, right, and you don't have someone on the line of scrimmage, that's going to be a penalty. All right, here's a pretty obvious penalty. This receiver out here gets pushed by the invisible man. It's false start. We're going to blow that play dead. 3-yard penalty, replay down. Okay, and here's a play to demonstrate beautifully our no diving rule. We do not have a no jumping rule. We have a no diving rule. You can clearly see this ball carrier, right? He's going for the goal line, and he dives towards the end zone. You can't do that in this league. You cannot dive in this league. So we're calling a dive when your head is out in front of your toes, right? So that's clearly a dive. That's not a jump, which is a vertical move. A dive is when our head is out in front of our toes. And if someone dives, we're going to mark them down from the spot of the dive next down. Okay, just another important rule to note here. A receiver needs to have 1 foot in bounds for it to be a catch. Not 2 feet, but 1 feet. The receiver has to have 1 foot in bounds. You can see here, this receiver catches the ball with his foot on the line, which is, of course, out of bounds, right? But you just need to have 1 foot in bounds for it to be an eligible catch. Almost, dude. Almost awesome. Intentional grounding is not a penalty in this league. So you can see this quarterback is running out of time, and he just spikes the ball down in the middle of his play. So that is fine. You can throw the ball anywhere. It's not intentional grounding. You'll see this a lot also when the defender's blitzes, right? So the quarterback feels pressure. He's about to get blitzed. He's just going to spike the ball on the ground. Whatever. The defense won that down, right? So it's just like, they lost that down. They're going to play the next down from the original line of scrimmage. Okay, a penalty that we'll see a lot in this league is also defensive pass interference, right? So defensive pass interference, when we enforce it, is going to be spot foul and auto first down. But you can see this defender here, right? We put it in slow-mo, is clearly pulling that receiver. That is pass interference. That's going to be a spot foul, automatic first down. Here's just another defensive pass interference while we're running it. And we ran this play a couple times, and we were going back and forth. Is this defensive pass interference? It's tough, right? Because the defender has a right to the ball. The defenders have a right to the ball, But when you slow it down, you can really see that this defensive player is coming and he's kind of climbing up the offensive person's back, right? So if the defender is inhibiting the offensive person's right to the ball, that's going to be defensive pass interference, spot foul, auto first down. Okay, and while we're talking about defensive pass interference, I just want to make this very important note. The defender has a right to the ball, right? When the ball is in the air, it's anyone's ball, and the defender has a right to the ball. So in this specific play, we're looking at this defender right here, right? He sees the pass. He's running in. His hand is out for this ball. He actually maybe touches this ball. He touches this ball, right? But there's a bump and there's a contact and there's a person on the ground, right? Correctly, this official is not calling defensive pass interference, despite maybe people screaming, I want that call, right? Or a coach complaining about a call, right? But if we go back and we remember that not all contact is a penalty, and especially when it comes to a ball in the air, a defender has a right to the ball. This is a correct non-call because they're both going for the pass. Okay, just a quick note about the quarterback throwing the ball here, right? We put this clip in because the quarterback is almost over the line of scrimmage when he throws this ball. But remember, the rule is the quarterback, if any part of the quarterback is behind the line of scrimmage, he can still throw that forward pass. Okay, here's an example of roughing the passer call, right? This is roughing the passer because he just basically tackles the quarterback here, right? But the other note that I would make about roughing the passer is, like, let's say freeze. Let's say this quarterback is going to throw this ball here. If this defender is going to block the pass and interferes with the quarterback or even the quarterback's follow through, that's going to be roughing the passer. If the quarterback throws the ball and hits the defender while the defender is trying to pull the flag, it's not roughing the passer, right? So even if the defender is coming in and he's straight vertical, holding up his hands, and the quarterback hits him in the follow through, it's going to be roughing the passer. That also fits with coaches because coaches, you don't want your defenders going up to try to block passes, right? You want them trying to pull flags. The other question we get in terms of roughing the passer is if the defender or the blitzer smacks the ball out of the quarterback's hand while he's throwing the ball, is that roughing the passer? Absolutely. The ball is an extension of the quarterback's hand. So if you hit the quarterback's hand with the ball in it, we don't have fumbles. We're not forcing fumbles in this league. That would also be considered roughing the passer. Keep our QB safe. Okay, a very important rule for everyone to know is if a player, an offensive player's flag falls off, right? He just falls off while he's running or falls off earlier in the play and he does not have a flag on, it's one-hand touch. If you're in this situation in a game, an offensive person catches the ball, he does not have a flag, it's the job of every referee and every coach to be screaming, one-hand touch, one-hand touch, one-hand touch. The defense clearly knows the rule here. It's actually easier to one-hand touch somebody than pull their flag down next play. Okay, just to counteract that no diving rule, right? Remember, you can jump here. You can jump, right? So you can see the receiver here. There's someone on the ground, or for whatever reason, he's jumping here. His head is not out in front of his feet. It's a vertical jump. That's totally fine. Okay, a less common penalty here, but illegal touching, right? This receiver is going to run along the back of the end zone, but he runs out of bounds and comes back in and touches that ball. That is going to be illegal touching. And I just want to make a point here. Don't sleep on our high school refs. Here's a high school ref reffing kids that are about his age, making a great illegal touching rule. Okay, another example of illegal touching here. Full disclosure, I am the purple team's coach, and so this hurts me. But the receiver touches the ball when he's in bounds. He falls. He touches out of bounds. You can see his foot is touching out of bounds here, and he's, again, the first person to touch the ball. That would be, again, another example of illegal touching. Okay, and last procedural thing is overtime rules. In the event of a tie at the end of regulation, we are going into overtime. Overtime, each team gets 4 downs from the 20-yard line to get 4 downs to score. You can see this team scores on a magnificent catch on the first play here, right? After you score in overtime, in the first overtime, you can go for 1 or you can go for 2. In the second overtime, if you score, you have to go for 2. The third overtime is just a single play from the 20-yard line. Each team gets 1 play. If you're tied at the end of 3 overtimes in the regular season, the NFL has ties, we do too.